What is up, guys? Welcome back to the newest episode of Rant On. So this is like the seventh episode I think we've had so far, and if you've stuck with us this long, guys, I really appreciate it. We're just gonna jump right in today, though. Today we're gonna go a little bit NFL heavy, mainly just one person heavy for the rant section, but we'll get to that later. Obviously, we're still gonna run through some college football today because we love it, and because Kentucky covered on their last play of the game last week, and I won on that, so that was cool. I didn't give any picks out last week because I think we're going to start transitioning to putting the picks on Twitter. And if you guys want to interact, well, what I'm saying is that would give you guys a better chance to interact with them. So give us a follow over there at Rant On Sports. It's on Twitter, just at Rant On Sports. And if you guys want more bets than I have on Twitter, then you can DM me and I can run through a list and see what I think the best ones available are. Like last week, I had a couple people that I texted and said, "Hey, if Texas scores first, we're taking OK State on the spread anyway because it's obviously going to jump." And so that worked out well too. So that was cool. But like I said, if you guys want that, go follow us over on Twitter. And like I said, I'm by no means an expert on this, but we're here to have fun and we're having fun. So via Twitter last week, we went 4-3. If you count the Oklahoma State pick, we went 5-3. And I think I figured out that I'm probably never picking against Cincinnati to not cover ever again because they might be legit, and they spanked UCF last week. Uh, they covered in a game that I thought was going to be a little bit closer than that, but I think they've covered in pretty much every game this year. I also thought Stanford was on a roll but yeah, they weren't able to beat Washington State, who just fired their coach. Well, coach is a lot of them. It was at least four of them, I believe, if that story was correct. But it wasn't even for performance issues. It was for not getting the vaccine. It was for not. It was they weren't complying with the vaccine mandate at Washington State apparently, or the state of Washington. I'm not entirely sure. There's a lot of vaccine talk going on. But I feel like that's something. It just seems a little ridiculous to me though, because I think if you haven't gotten at this point, you're probably not going to get it. And I feel like Washington State should have been in a position where they knew that, because you're a multi-million-dollar university. I feel like you should at least know what's going on with some of your employees, especially some of the highest paid ones. But anyway, that's just my take on it. I'm not an athletic director. What do I know? But hey, I will say this though: Alabama looked better than they have the entire year. And by the way, speaking of that, Andy, or one of our contributors, Andy Bass, just released a Alabama Tennessee preview article. If you guys want to go check that out, go over to Substack.com, or you can go over to Facebook and check it out over there too. And I think our Facebook page is Rant On Sports. I'm pretty sure it is. If it's not, it's Rant On Podcast. It's one of the two, but. So go over there, take a look at it, our Substacks. Don't forget to subscribe. And eventually, guys, we will have all of this on the website. The website is published. I'll get to that later. But anyway, back into college football here. Like I said, Alabama looked great last week for the first time this year. Probably they allowed 9 points to Mississippi State. That was the lowest that they've allowed all year. I mean, even Mercer scored 14 against Alabama. I still think that there's a few issues that the defense needs to iron out. Like I said, we only allowed 9 points, but at the same time, it could have been less. I thought. I mean, we made a good bit of mistakes, and if we need to be able to iron that out before we get to Georgia, because we can't make mistakes against Georgia. I mean, a lot of these, and I think moving forward into Tennessee this weekend, I think if we can kind of stretch together a consecutive two or three consecutive performances out of our defense where we don't allow a touchdown, that's going to be pretty solid. I feel a lot better going into the Georgia game, but for now, I don't think our defense is there with it. I don't think this defense can beat Georgia. I hope they can, but I also don't think that Georgia has really that good of an offense either. So, but we'll see. That's later on down the road. Mechie finally decided to show up in the game last week. He had seven receptions for 117 yards and a touchdown. And Bryce looked great like usual. He's still the best odds to win the Heisman coming into this week. And speaking of the Heisman race, guys, here's a list of who we think ultimately gets the invite to New York. It's on the screen right now. If you're listening instead, go over to Instagram at Rant On Sports and take a look if you want to. If in the meantime, though, we've got Bryce Young, we got Matt Corral, we've got Bijan Robinson, and Kenneth Walker on our list. I know this isn't strictly the top 4 favorites according to Vegas, but these are my 4 favorite guys. Honestly, I think these guys are going to be the ones that get the invite to New York, and I think it'd be pretty hard to argue against that. I mean, you have C.J. Stroud for Ohio State, who's not on this list, but I don't know. I mean, I still think that he's probably the 3rd, maybe the 4th best quarterback in the country. So I don't really think that he's. I don't know. In my opinion, these are the guys right here. But anyway, let's run through some stats here. So Bryce is going to make this a tough race, guys. I mean, he's already over 2,000 yards passing. He's got 23 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. So not a bad start to the season. I think we're just about at the halfway point. So he should be on pace to get right around 4,000 yards, 45, 46 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Now that in itself would be an incredible year. But you got this guy right behind him, Matt Corral, who is still also killing it. He's got a little bit over 1,700 yards, 14 touchdowns, and I don't remember. I know I looked this up. I think he's got 450 rushing yards. I didn't put the amount of yards on here. I only put that he has 8 more rushing touchdowns. So this guy's got 22 touchdowns on the year, as opposed to Bryce Young's 23. Pretty good comparison. So let's run through the running backs, though, because they've also had a heck of a year also. Both are already closing in on 1,000 yards. Walker has 997 and 10 total touchdowns, while Bijan has 930 yards and 12 total touchdowns. So, and a couple of those are from receptions. I think Kenneth Walker has 1 reception touchdown, and I believe Bijan has 2. But so these guys have kind of started to prove that they can do a little bit more than just run the ball, and not that they need to, because they're incredible at running the ball. But guys, I think you got to take a look at these 2 guys, because I think that, like I said, at the end of the year, these will be the 4 that are accepted to New York, or get the invite, not accepted, like it's a fraternity bid. Well, I guess in a way it kind of is. But anyway, guys, so keep an eye out on all of them. And another guy that I wanted to mention here too, that he's not on our list. He just recently got into the Heisman odds for Vegas, but it's an interesting story too. So Caleb Williams, guys. Caleb Williams, I'm sure you guys have heard of him, because he's the guy that has taken over for Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler came into the season as the highest odds to win the Heisman, and that's clearly gone very wrong. I think he came into the season at 6-1 odds to win the Heisman, which was pretty good, but oh man, how he has fallen. So keep an eye on Caleb Williams, guys, because I mean, I know he's only a freshman, but this kid looks pretty good. I mean, he is solid. And so, I think Oklahoma's pretty solid too. I mean, I think I've got them at 4th or 5th in my power rankings. We'll throw those up on here in a minute too. But yeah, guys. So just moving forward, though, I'd like to see how these guys do the rest of the season. Obviously, getting to 2,000 yards rushing in a college season is incredibly difficult, and getting to over 4,500 yards passing in a season in college football is incredibly difficult. So we'll see how this goes, guys. I mean, I'm excited. I love these 4 guys. I really think all 4 of them are going to perform the entire year. I mean, you got Michigan State, who is still undefeated. Actually, they are one of the 10 or 12 undefeated teams left. But anyway, guys, moving on. Now, in this week's Rant On section, I want to talk about Derrick Henry. And I'm going to start off by saying I don't really think that there is a general consensus for who the best running back is of all time. Now, that being said, I do realize that there have been some incredible running backs throughout the history of the NFL. I mean, you've got Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, LT, and I mean, arguably AP in his prime. I mean, AP was incredible. He doesn't really have the career numbers, but at one time, Adrian Peterson was definitely the best running back in the NFL. But since his injury, though, he might not should be on the list. But he's just another guy that came to my mind. But here's my point, though. When you ask people who the best running back ever was, I mean, you can ask anybody. Go ask like 3 or 4 people today, and I guarantee you at least 2 or 3 of them are going to have a different answer, especially depending on what generation they're from. I asked my dad. He said Walter Payton. And I asked him again a few hours later, just because he forgets things sometimes, and he said Barry Sanders. So I mean, it's one of those things that you don't really have a clear consensus. I mean, there's not really a decorated best running back of all time. And that being said, I think it's time to start having the conversation, at least, that it could be Derrick Henry when it's all said and done. Henry has been in the league since 2016. I mean, and I don't really feel like going through his high school and college numbers, because I'm sure if you know anything about this guy, you know that he's not human, first off, but he was a robot in high school. I think he had over 10,000 yards in his career, but and he did win the Heisman in Alabama as well. But anyway, moving on. So he's been in the league since 2016. He's improved every year of his career since he's been there. And really, in the last, well, starting in 2018, the last 4 or 5 games of the 2018 season since then has just absolutely been on a tear in the NFL, and is far and beyond the best running back that we have in the league right now. Now, do I consider him the best of all time yet? Maybe not yet, but I think he's well on his way. So because and that being said, I want to look at some numbers here, because I do think that, like I said, it's time to start having this conversation. So he's coming off of his 5th career performance last week. Anyway, he's coming off of his 5th career performance of over 140 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns in a game. And by the way, only one running back has ever done that before in their entire career, and that was LaDainian Tomlinson, LT. But to get a little bit more specific here, I wanted to take a look at some numbers that he's put up since the start of the 2019 season. So just in the last 2.5 years, guys. Okay. He's leading. Well, actually, this one is for this year. So he's the leading rusher this year by 260 yards. And this really isn't that unexpected, because last year he was the leader by around 500 yards and finished with over 2,000 yards total last year. But speaking of LT again, LT and Sean Alexander, I should be able to say that, because he played for Alabama, and arguably, other than Derrick Henry, is probably the best running back that's ever come through Alabama. But anyway, getting back on subject. So only LT and Sean Alexander were the only 2 running backs who have put up double-digit touchdowns through 6 games before. Now they both did that in 2005. In 2006, LaDainian Tomlinson actually put up the record for the most rushing touchdowns in a season, which was 28. Now, assuming Derrick Henry plays every game, all 17 games this year, there's a solid chance he is on pace to actually beat that 28 number, which would be very surprising, because, like I said, I mean, it's been since 2006. So it's been 15 years since somebody's beaten that record, or even really gotten close to it. So in one of his touchdowns last week, he took off for a 76-yard touchdown and got up to 21.8 miles per hour. Now, how fast is that? Well, I'll put it this way. That was the fastest for any ball carrier this entire season. Any ball carrier. Faster than Dalvin Cook, faster than Alvin Kamara, faster than Henry Ruggs, faster than anybody in the NFL. And by the way, this guy's 6'3" and 250 pounds. Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be able to do that. You shouldn't be able to get up to 22 miles per hour if you are 250 pounds. But this guy is literally pure muscle. He's just, I don't know. His body was sculpted by Michelangelo. He's a Greek god. I don't know what you want me to say about this guy. I mean, he's incredible. But okay, so moving on. Crazy stat alert here. Crazy stat alert here. Since 2019, only Derrick Henry. Now, this is a confusing stat, so stay with me here, guys. I'm going to repeat it. Since 2019, only Derrick Henry has more total rushing yards than Derrick Henry has yards after contact. So since 2019, only Derrick Henry has more rushing yards than Derrick Henry himself has after contact. Meaning the only other, I mean, there's no other running backs that even have more yards than he does after contact since 2019. Let's put it this way. Yards after contact, let's say it's just right at 2,000 yards, right? For since 2013, this isn't the right numbers, but let's just assume here. Since 2019, let's just say Derrick Henry has 2,000 yards after contact. Well, nobody else even has 2,000 rushing yards, period, since 2019. And he has more than anybody else, and it's not even close after contact. I mean, this guy gets better as he's hit. This guy gets better as he plays. You know, I mean, I think I saw a stat in the last game, last Sunday anyway, or Monday. Derrick Henry averages, anywhere from about 1.8 to 2.5 yards per carry in the first quarter. Now, he gets progressively better, is what I'm trying to say. He gets progressively better as the game goes on. Now, in the fourth quarter, this guy is averaging 6 yards a carry. So he goes, I mean, he breaks you down. He literally breaks you down. And he will just run over you. And this is why this stat to me is so insane, because he runs better after he's touched, after he's contacted, after somebody hits him. He runs better than any other running back in the entire league. And that to me is just absolutely bonkers. And you have never seen that. Well, I personally have never seen it before. I mean, you can go back and maybe say Walter Payton. Walter Payton never went out of bounds. He just ran straight through you. Yeah, sure. That was a fact. Absolutely. But even Walter Payton's yards after contact weren't this. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. So this stat is prior to the season, but regardless, since 2016, Derrick Henry has nearly 5,000 yards after contact. The only running backs that have that many yards, period, in the same amount of time are Todd Gurley and Ezekiel Elliott. Todd Gurley, who isn't even playing this year. So it goes to show even further that this man is not human. I mean, including the playoffs, Derrick Henry has a total of 23 games with over 100 yards since 2019. Since 2019, folks. So 2 seasons and about 6 games, this guy has 23 games over 100 yards. I don't know how you stop him. I really don't. Can you stop him? At this point, I don't think you can. And like I said, I get that this guy's insane and probably not even human. But the guy's 5 years into his career. He's got a lot left in the tank. They didn't really use him a whole lot the first 2 years. And, I mean, he's rarely injured. And at the look of it, he works out crazier than James Harrison does. And which, I don't know if you've ever seen any of James Harrison's workout videos, but you guys need to go look them up. They are absolutely insane. And then once you go look up his, then I want you to go to Derrick Henry's profile, and I want you to see what he's working out on. Because it's too, just, people shouldn't be able to do. I don't get it. It's not human. Isn't it? Neither one of them are human. I don't get it. But anyway, the only difference is that Derrick Henry is a running back and not a defensive lineman. But he's, like I said, he's only 5 years in. He's putting up record-setting numbers, quite literally. And something to remember here, too, is like I said, he didn't play a whole lot in the first couple of years, right? But he didn't even have a 200-carry season until 2018. So a lot of these people that are worried about, his the amount of carries that he's been getting, especially last year, I think it was nearly 400. I think it was 370 something. I don't really think we have a whole lot to be worried about, though, because this guy's been in the league 5 years. He knows how to play at this point. They rested him the first couple of years, so he didn't get beat up when he came right into the NFL like a Todd Gurley did or like an Ezekiel Elliott did. Ezekiel looks a little bit better this year, but Zeke has had a couple of rough years in the past, and I think that is because of overusage in his first couple of years of play. Could I be wrong? Maybe, but I don't know, man. I just think this is, they didn't really use him. I think going into the next 5 years, if they can just average around 300 carries, I think this guy will be fine. He'll be fine. It's Derrick Henry, guys. He's like I said, he might not even be human. He might be a robot. He might not even be capable of getting hurt. I don't know. But I still think he's got a lot left in the tank. I realize this may sound crazy, but even after a 350 plus carry season and with over 2,000 yards in a season, I still think he has a lot left in the tank. Is he the greatest running back of all time? I think one day he could be. I think he's well on his way. But guys, that'll do it for my rant section. And I guess the whole entire point of that is I do genuinely think it is time to start at least having the conversation or thinking about him being the best of all time. Because when it's all said and done, he might be. But anyway, other things that happened around the NFL last week. Aaron Rodgers owns Chicago, and he will never let them forget it. I thought that was incredible. The Jaguars got their first field goal of the season and their third field goal of the season to get their first win. Look at us. Who'd have thought? Not me. You get a field goal kicker, you win a game. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? And it took us missing a fourth down on the 20-yard line for us to even try him out. But whatever. We won the game. I'm not going into it. I will say this though. I may have teared up a little bit, but we got to win. It was our first try, and it was our first win in 21 tries. But it's a rough life being a Jags fan, guys. But what can you say? I also think Urban Meyer may have been coaching for his job here. If you look at the way that he was kind of, holding himself throughout the game and looking at some of his body language, it looked like he may have been coaching for his life, or well, maybe not his life, but for definitely his job. I think that maybe Shad Khan has realized we're not going to put up with this. I think that Urban is on a very short leash after watching this game. Leash, not leech. And supposedly I did hear this too. Supposedly there's a third video of him at the bar the previous weekend, a couple weekends ago, and apparently it's worse than the other two. So if that gets leaked, that'll be a lot of fun. If it's even real, I don't want to speculate. It might not even be real. But if it is, I wouldn't hate seeing it. I don't like the guy, so I don't want him as a coach. I want him out of here. But anyway, we also made our first ever tier list for Rant On. This one has our tiered rankings for every team in the NFL. If you're listening instead of watching, again, go over to our Instagram, check it out. You can look at it on there. But in the meantime, for you, I'm going to read the top two lines here. And we have 8 teams, so bear with me. Here we go. First line, S tier, which is the elite of the elite. The best teams, in my opinion. And this is a tier list, guys. I mean, this is, this can change a lot throughout the entire season. And it probably will. And, you might have different opinions than me, too. I mean, like I said, it's just a tier list. These are just my ideas. But if you do have different opinions or different ideas, then reach out to us. I would love to talk to you. Email us, DM us on Instagram, Twitter, whatever, Facebook, however you want to do it. I love talking to people. If you can't tell, I'm talking to nobody right now. So obviously I love talking to people. But if you care to, like I said, if you care to comment, if you care to argue or anything, come on with it. But anyway, getting into it. First 2 lines right here. S tier, top tier. Top tier for us. Tampa Bay, Buffalo Bills, Ravens, Cardinals. I think these are the 4 best teams this year. I mean, the Cardinals are still undefeated. Lamar Jackson is out to prove to people that he can throw the ball, apparently. Josh Allen knows that he can throw the ball and is trying. I mean, he's trying to have 7,000 yards this year, it seems like. But he won't. I mean, that's unrealistic. But Tom Brady, too. Tom Brady's also putting up record numbers. And how about this? I heard Tom Brady say that he could easily, quote unquote, easily play into his 50s. That would be terrifying. What if Tom Brady gets 12 Super Bowls? What if he gets 15? Where does he stop? Does he stop when he's 60? I don't know. I mean, I know that Warren Moon was the oldest person to ever complete a pass in the NFL, and I believe he was 49 when he did it. So maybe Brady's at least trying to play until he's 49. I don't know. Who knows with this guy? This is another guy that's probably just a robot. I mean, it doesn't seem like he ever gets injured, which is apparently it's apparently all of the avocados. I don't know. This guy, I mean, it's just incredible. So those are my top 4 teams. And then under them, we have the A tier list. Now, this is almost elite. This, to me, is teams that have a chance to be elite, but haven't quite convinced me, in my opinion, yet. And that is the Chargers, the Packers, the Rams, and the Cowboys. Now, all four have been incredible. They've been great at times this year. But the Cowboys haven't really beaten anybody. The Chargers have struggled at times. The Packers looked terrible in their first game, which I still think was probably just a big old middle finger from Aaron Rodgers to the owners. But regardless, and then LA's lost a couple of silly games that I thought that they should have won, and especially with Stafford there. Stafford's had a couple of games where he just hasn't looked that great, which is surprising because if I had Stafford, let him go out and sling it every game. Who cares? I mean, that's Stafford. He's going to have 350 yards on average if they let him do it. But if you, like I said, guys, if you care to comment or you care to argue, reach out to us. And this will change as the season goes on. We're gonna have more tier lists too. I'm probably gonna do a quarterback one week and maybe a running back one week, and who knows? I mean, tier list. You can do anything with tier lists. That's why I like them. And it was an incredible idea by one of our other contributors, Matthew Cooper. Oh, he's actually been on the show. You guys before. You guys have actually met him. If you don't remember him, go back and listen to either our first or second episode. He did a great job. But so NHL, NBA, both started this week. We'll have some articles on both soon, but we did actually just have one come out from our contributor Jordy, and he had an article come out yesterday about the NHL and his first few games. Have happened obviously, but he's got his thoughts about them. He's got his thoughts and his concerns and everything. Can Seattle Kraken win the entire thing this year? I don't know. I know that they look good enough to do it. Look good, play good, right? But go check that out on our Substack or our Facebook again. It was a really good article, guys. I don't say this about everybody, but Jordy actually, I don't even care. I enjoy hockey. I'm not like a super hockey guy. I root for the Preds, but and like I said, I don't not like hockey. I enjoy hockey. I'm not just like a super fan though. But that being said, go read Jordan's article. Or Jordy's article. It was really. He writes really, really well, guys, and he's really captivating too. And I'm not just saying that because he's one of my friends, but he may have really should have been a journalism major. He's an incredible writer. So go check out his articles on Substack and Facebook if you want. But moving on, we are, like I said, NBA starting this week. It just did start actually the last couple of days. And Russell Westbrook still, to me, looks like he was on the set of Scooby-Doo when he showed up to the pregame yesterday wearing his outfit, but that's just me. We're going to have a lot of articles on the, maybe not a lot, but we're going to have some articles. I'm still trying to convince one of my friends named Connor Leary, and if he listens to this, then he'll hear me talk about him. And Connor, I expect an NBA article by the end of the weekend. Yeah. But anyway, guys, we're going to, like I said, you can check out that and on our Facebook and our Substack. You can go check them out on our website too eventually. I have officially, like I said earlier, I have officially published it. You can check it out soon. I don't want you to check it out yet because we're still tidying some of the design and whatnot. I didn't like a lot of my design, so I changed up a lot of it. So we're still kind of trying to get that ironed out. But all of the content is on there. It has been published. I will release it to the public soon. But guys, until then, I just wanted to say thank you guys again for watching or listening if you are listening. And I know I keep saying the website's coming soon, but I promise it actually is. And I know I also keep saying we are going to switch to 2 episodes soon. That is coming. If I can I got a little scheduling that I need to take care of and I really just need to become more organized. But anyway, guys, I wanted to talk about the Braves in the playoffs, obviously. I wore my Dale Murphy shirt today. That is all I'm going to say anything about them because I don't want to jinx them. They are up 3-1 on the Dodgers, and we'll see how it goes. I think it could go well. We'll see. I'm not saying anything. But anyway, guys, until next time, thanks for listening.